Vancouver Canucks are very proud to select
We went to that draft knowing nothing.
for Marshall Svink,
We expected to be on different teams.
Daniel and Henrik Sedin.
Vancouver made it happen, so we're forever grateful.
The Sedins are Canucks not just because of Brian Burke's draft day deal making. They're also in Vancouver because Burke changed his mind about them. 6 months before the 1999 draft, he was not a fan.
They'd had a poor World Junior that year in Winnipeg. I think they finished second and third in the scoring in the tournament, but they scored a lot of points against, Bulgaria and Panama and, some of the other teams. And against Canada and the U.S., they had a real hard time. So when I left Winnipeg after the World Junior, I said I'm trading the pick.
I mean, we lost out to Canada in the quarters and semifinals, yes, sorry. And we didn't really maybe produce the way we wanted to in that game. So that might be why he was disappointed.
But Thomas Gordin, the Canucks Swedish-based scout, would not give up on them.
Yeah, I saw them a few times, and the only two players that had the puck the whole game were them. So it was easy to see them because they kept the puck in between them for periods of time, like 5-minute shifts.
He convinced Burke to give them another look at the World Hockey Championships 1 month before the draft.
You could see that crazy thing they do for the first time. And I came back from Norway and said, I got to get him. There's no question about it.
Despite a roster that included Messier, Naslund, Mogilny, and Bertuzzi, the Canucks finished third worst in the NHL that year, meaning they own the third overall pick in the draft. But Burke needed one more pick, and in the end, that required 3 trades before the draft began.
Trying to get Chicago to make the deal, that took, Bob Murray's a tough man. That took, even though we overpaid, that took a lot of time. So it started probably 3 weeks before. At first he was like, no, we'll wait and see what happens. Then, yeah, but it's got to be this. And then it was me trying to get him off Brian McCabe, who I loved as a player, and he wouldn't move. And so finally we made the decision.
The toughest trade was getting Tampa to give Vancouver #1 overall. The night before the draft, it didn't look good.
We talked till late at night and hung up on each other, cursing and swearing. So I went to bed. I didn't have this deal. And I'm thinking, if I gave up Brian McCabe in the first, and I've got to take one of these other players at 4, I just made a horrible mistake.
But just before the draft began, Tampa changed its mind. And that's when Brian Burke let his people know the Sedins were guaranteed.
And so just before our pick, my role was to put the jersey together. So I went up to Brian and I said, what name? And he said, Sedin. And I said, which one? And he said, both.
5 minutes before it started, Thomas walked up to us and he was yelling from 4 rows down from the floor, telling us that it was going to happen. So
I said just welcome to the team. I think that was, but I always say it in Swedish.
How would you say it in Swedish?
Välkommen till laget.
The final deal was so the Canucks could call up the Sedins at the same time, and Atlanta guaranteed they would take Patrick Stefan instead, thus completing one of the greatest displays of deal-making in NHL draft history.